All right, so in this video, I want to go over like how to build the unit circle, and I just want to focus on first the degree measurements, and then I'll focus on the radian measurements. I'll save the like sine and cosine stuff for another video. Okay, so let's just kind of go over degrees and radians. Now I'm going to start with degrees, and most people don't have any real trouble with like memorizing the unit circle as far as degrees go, but I'm going to show you a kind of maybe a different way than than you might think of how to build the unit circle, because I think it will help a lot when we start talking about radians, which is another unit of measure for angles. Okay, so first off, when we're talking about the unit circle, over here is where we're going to have 0 degrees. Okay, so 0 degrees is going to be about right there. Okay, and as we progress this direction, okay, we're increasing in degree measurement. So all the way around the circle, that direction would end up getting at 360 degrees. Okay, as we go all the way around the circle. Okay, so what happens if we only go halfway around the circle? So like to right there. So halfway around the circle will be 180 degrees. So let's put 180 degrees over here. Okay, so there is one 180 degree measure, and right here makes two 180 degree measures for a total of 360. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to take that 180 degree measure and I want to cut it in half. Okay, like so. So right here I've got 180 cut in half. So we do a little bit of math, and that is 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees right here. Okay, so this angle right here is one 90 degree angle. Another one makes two 90 degree angles for a total of 180. Then three of them makes 270 degrees. 90 times 3 is 270. And then all the way around, four of them make 360. 90 times 4 is 360. Okay, now I want to take each of those halves and I want to split them in half. So what I've done now is I've taken 180 degrees and split it into 4 equal pieces. So this first one is going to be 1/4 of 180. So 180 divided by 4 is 45, or you can think of it as half of 90, right? So this is 45. So this angle right here is one 45 degree angle. This makes two 45 degree angles for 90. Three 45 degree angles makes 135. Okay, and then four 45 degree angles makes 180. Tack on another one and we get 225 degrees. Okay, another 45 makes 270, another 45 makes 315, and then another 45 makes 360. Okay, so we split first, we took 180, we split in half, and we took each of those and split them in half. So we went from halves to fours. All right, so let's kind of work back, go back a little bit. Instead of splitting in half, let's split it into thirds. Okay, so here's 180 split into 3 equal pieces. So this first one right here is going to be 180 cut in thirds, so that's 60. So this is 60 degrees. That's one 60 degree angle. Two 60 degree angles make 120. Three 60 degree angles make 180. Four, oops, forgot a degree sign. Four make 240. 5 make 300, and 6 makes 360. 6 times 60 is 360. Now we're going to take each of those and split each of those in half. So now we have 6 equal pieces up top, right? 6 on the top, 6 on the bottom. So this first piece is 180 cut into 6 equal pieces. So that's, or 60 cut in half, is 30 degrees. So there is one 30 degree angle, two 30 degree angles make 60, three 30 degree angles make 90, 4 make 120, 5 make 150, 6 make 180, 7 make 210, 8 make 240, 9 make 270, 10 make 300, and 11 make 330 degrees. Finally, 12 makes 360. So there's what we call the unit circle measured out with degree measurements. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to do the same thing but talk about radian measures. Now before we do that, let's talk about the difference between degrees and radians. A full circle is split into 360 degrees. So 1 degree, if you imagine, there's 30 degrees. So you can imagine how small 1 degree is. It's like, like probably like that. That's probably even too much. 1 degree is very, very small. Okay, there's 360 of those in a circle. So radians is a different matter. So let's erase all this. So 1 radian is how far the radius of a circle bends around the circle. Okay, so and it doesn't matter what the size of the circle is, the radius will always go around the same amount of times. Now just to help me out here, let me just pop this guy up again. So the radius, let's say, I don't know, it's the center. I guess let me do this. We'll get another one up here. There's the center. Okay, so this distance right here, from there to there, is the radius, right? So if I were to take that amount and bend it around the circle, it's going to end up someplace up here. I don't know exactly where, but someplace over here. That's 1 radian. Now compare that to what 1 degree was. 1 degree was really small. There was 360 degrees in a full circle. That's 1 radian right there, that distance. So the question is, how many of those are in a full circle? Well, let's think through this. Let's see. How many times does a radius go around a circle? Well, we know that the distance around a circle, that's the circumference, is equal to 2 pi times the radius, or 2 pi r, right? That's the formula we all know and love. So how many times does a radius go around a circle? 2 pi times, or roughly 6.28 times. So if I take that radius again, okay, and I bend it around the circle, so 1 time will be about to right there. There's once. Twice will be about right there. 3 times, and then a little bit, right? And then I do it 1 more time, about right there, about right there, and about right there. And then, hey, look, there's that little bit again, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, and a little bit. That's actually 0.14. Okay, so 1 to 3.14 and 1 to 3.14. There are 2 pi. 1 pi right there, 3.14 times right there, and 3.14 times right here. So a circle, when talking about radians, let's erase all those marks. In a circle with radians, here is 0 radians, right? The same place where 0 degrees was at. And 1 full rotation around the circle is 6.28 radians. That's how many times the radian will go around the circle, or 2 pi radians. Okay, so 0 all the way around is 2 pi radians, or 2 pi radiuses go all the way around the circle. So what happens if we only go halfway around the circle? So here's 0, there's 2 pi, so halfway around the circle will be half of 2 pi, which is just pi. So pi and 180 degrees are equivalent measurements. They're not equivalent numbers, like pi is 3.14 and 180 is 180, but they're equivalent measurements, kind of like the same thing with like 1 inch and 2.54 centimeters. They are the same measurement, the same distance, right? 2 different units of measure, same distance. So pi and 180 degrees are the same angle measure the same distance. Okay, so now we've got pi. Let's split it in half. Does this look familiar? So remember how we did 180 and split it in half and got 90? So this mark right here is pi cut in half. So we're going to call it pi cut in half, pi halves. So there is 1 pi half radian. 2 of them makes 2 pi halves. So 2 pi halves. But what happens? The 2's cancel out and I'm left with pi, right? So 2 pi halves. That makes this one 3 pi halves and 4 pi halves for 2 pi. Okay, so that was pi cut in half. Now let's take pi and cut each of those in half. So pi cut into fourths. So 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So pi, this is pi being cut into 4 equal pieces. So this is one of them. There's 1 pi fourth. This would be 2 pi fourths. But if we think about it, 2 pi fourths. The 2 and the 4, they cancel out, or I'm left with 1 over 2, which is pi halves. So 1 pi fourth, 2 pi fourths. This one makes 3 pi fourths. 4 pi fourths, which is equivalent to pi, 5 pi fourths, 6 pi fourths, 7 pi fourths, and 8 pi fourths. Okay, so we'll just count the pieces around the circle. It's not too bad. All right, so we split it in half, then we split it into fourths. Let's back up a little bit. Let's now split it into thirds. So one of these is pi cut into 3 pieces. So this is 1 pi third. So there's 1 pi third. This one makes 2 pi thirds. This one makes 3 pi thirds, which is the same thing as pi. I'm going to erase these over here. They're bothering me. 3 pi thirds. This one makes 4 pi thirds, 5 pi thirds, and 6 pi thirds, which is equivalent to 2 pi. Okay, and then finally, let's take each of those and let's split each of those in halves. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces on top. So this is pi being split into 6 pieces. So this is 1 pi over 6. Another piece makes 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. This one's now going to be 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, and 12 pi over 6. So that's the unit circle with the radian measures. And if we click right here, we can see all of them. So that's what the unit circle looks like with radians.